Hello, Cohasset, and welcome to another edition of Our Town. I'm Mark DeGiacomo, and together with Pat Martin.
Hi, how are you, Mark?
I'm well, Pat.
So we've got another candidate with us tonight in our series as we illuminate the candidates that are running for the Board of Selectmen.
Or try to.
Or try to, that's right. So with us tonight is incumbent Leland Jenkins. Welcome.
Good evening. Nice to be here.
Thanks for coming. So Lee, you're the incumbent running. There's 2 seats open. The other incumbent decided not to run. Tell us why you're interested in staying on the Board of Selectmen and what you are hoping to accomplish.
Well, I've been on the board for 3 years, but I really feel I've only been on for 1 year of productive time. And I want to try to continue to bring the town into the 21st century. I was on the advisory board for 6 years, and I realized how the inner workings of the town was. And like anybody, you always see that what's wrong, what can be, not wrong so much, but what can be corrected. And that's why my goal has always been to try to improve whatever I've been on, try to improve the town. And some of the instances where, I'll go back to the advisory board, where I realized there was a problem with the contracts, the union contracts, where they were brought before the advisory board 2 hours or an hour and a half before a town meeting. Well, how can you possibly analyze a contract in an hour and what the ramifications are financially for the town and for the employees? So that's when we got the bylaw out there to pass the 30 days before town meeting. It helps the town, it helps the employees, and it helps the town. I believe we have all our contracts are now all in line. That means everyone is 1 year, which is going to be a predicament every 3 years to renegotiate at that point. But it's the fairest way to do it, because the time I've been here for about 34 years in town, that I've noticed that the schools will get a certain amount, or somebody will get something else, and then they're off schedule. I mean, 1 year this group will get this percentage, next year somebody will get a different percentage, and nobody's happy. And I believe also, if my memory serves me right, I think all the unions got the same thing, and non-union. I made sure that the DPW, anybody non-union in the town, got the same raises, which I've seen before they didn't get. The DPW would be left out. Some years they get nothing, and that's not fair. And if you're going to come up with it, I believe it's a 2, 2, and 2.5. That's the 3 years. I don't know what the equivalency is, but everybody's gotten it. And then there's no dispute over the wages. Now, of course, they can steps and columns and everything else involved. That may be a dispute, but that's that. But I would get back to the real question is, I feel if I'm there for another 3 years, maybe I can get a little bit more for the people of Cohasset and the town, a little bit more modernization that we need. And I think we've heard from all parties. You've seen it if you've watched the selectmen's meeting. How about minor changes have been very difficult to get, and it's not affecting anybody. They believe it is, but I've heard situations even before when I got on the board. I made some statements and I realized I shouldn't have made them because people worry about losing their jobs. It has nothing to do with losing anybody's job. It's effective and productive government I'm looking for.
Lee, you said that you feel like you've only been on the board 1 year. Is that just the time to ramp up and get used to how things work? Was that what you mean by that?
Well, I feel progress wasn't made for the first 2 years. I think people are laying back.
Why?
Well, first of all, our budgetary problems. And this all came up when I innocently asked for, because I knew from the advisory board that we knew we had a yearly, what do they call it, audit of the town. And I have never seen them. A lot of the information that I have asked for from the town is, posting monthly and quarterly financial reports. They weren't being done. So you really can't do anything as a selectman. You can try to run the town the best you can, but without the financial reports, you can't run the town. You can't see where you're going. You're running blind. And this is what happened at the end of when Malinowski came in. They were running blind. We finally straightened that out. Not me, but we hired very professional and people who care. The accountant was hired before Malinowski was here, but he got the treasurer. She's got her team, and these are professional people. These are, they post what they're supposed to. They do according to the rules. They don't deviate. I've heard a lot of people unhappy because if they got their taxes in late. A friend of mine, the same thing, got it in late, and they didn't notify him. But those things will be worked out. But you can't notify people if you still. The treasurer's office, they're still having problems trying to get all the information up and running smoothly. And
so it sounds like also too, could you be saying that 1 year was most effective because that was the year that Mike Malinowski was in place?
Well, not so myself, but the board has been much more effective. The town is run a lot better, but we aren't there yet. We have a few more things we have to do, so that when I leave and when Malinowski leaves, the next people coming in, they have an operating town in a business-like manner, and that's all I'm at. It doesn't mean we have to be a business. We're still a town. We still have to take care of our people. It's a little different in the public sector than there's a private sector, but it's very important that if the procedures are set up, the policies and procedures and the HR is set up in the town, which it isn't. I mean, it's shocking how the employees never knew what the next steps were in the next grades. Malinowski came in, he put in. He got a binder and actually put the steps to pay raise. I think the town meeting approved it. And of course, some of the stuff shocked me because of the amount of money people were getting, but that's part of the game. In order to straighten it out, you have to straighten it out. If you actually looked at the numbers, you'd be shocked in some cases, but that's okay. We have a good, what should I say, a good policy to follow now, which we didn't have before.
So looking back over your 3 years in selectmen, would you say getting the town's financial house in order would be your proudest accomplishment to have been part of that process, or is there anything else that the selectmen have done that you'd point to that you're particularly proud of having been part of?
I say that, I hate to say this, but we made a mistake. I made a mistake hiring the new town manager that we had. Mike Coughlin. But, we corrected the mistake. That's all. I'm not going to get involved in that because there's a lawsuit on. I'm not going to have the people in Cohasset pay for anything that I may say. But I'm just saying this mistake was corrected, and it was the right thing to do, and we moved on, and we were very fortunate to have a person from the outside, meaning he is well educated. He's got a master's degree, and I don't know what exactly it is, but it's in public policy or whatever it is, public operation, public management, and he's done a wonderful job by looking at it from the outside in. And I feel if we actually had a town manager that had experience, he wouldn't be looking at it in that direction. And I don't think you find town managers in many cases that are proactive. You need a proactive, and this town needed a proactive town manager saying, we got to look at everything, not just one thing at a time. And that's what Mike Malinowski, our acting town manager, has been doing. And when you do that, you ruffle a lot of feathers. When you try to make too many changes, but the town needs these changes, and that's why I'm going back to why I'm running.
So when you talk about ruffled feathers, then how do you respond to? I mean, it seems like lots and lots of talk over the last couple months, and now leading into this town meeting about the proposed changes to the Town Manager Act. Seems like a big subject for debate. You can talk about people who came to vote in big numbers or participated in the fall town meeting. If people say, if Mike's that great, why didn't you just bid it out, make him a candidate, hire him, just go through the process? What do you say about that?
I read over the bylaws of the town, and I know you're a lawyer. I read it differently than our attorneys read it. I read it, it was perfectly fine for him to be town manager. I read it in the fact that it said, if you looked at, I forget what the word was used, but the word was fire chief, police chief, not volunteer organizations within the town. That was my interpretation. My belief is our attorneys, which we pay for, felt it was the best thing to go to the vote to solve the problem. Everybody, which is a point. You go let the town vote and decide which way to go. And when the town voted, you're asking me about the last election. Okay, we put them on for 6 months more because of stability. Keep remembering, we have a town here, we have employees, we have an operation. You can't keep changing management all the time. So my main concern was stability in the town. And by keeping Malinowski on, it gave us the stability. And that's the main reason we're going to go for another year, just give him another full year or maybe 2 years for that reason, the stability of the town. He has, as far as I know, he has no desire to be a town manager. And there's continual, that thing may change. I'm not putting words in his mouth, but I'm just saying that he's a manager. I would hire him in any business.
Well, watching the recent selectmen's meetings, it appears, just appears, that his support seems to be eroding among some members. But not you. You've been a firm supporter of Mike from the beginning.
But only to a point. I mean, you know, he's not going to, you know.
Beyond, what point is that?
I mean, just recently we're talking about the police chief, and I understand completely that. I have made
the
up
advertisement.
I haven't made up any mind. I just thought, and I understand. Everybody has to understand when you have an employee working for you and he's doing a good job, and you're the town manager, which you have the right to hire and fire, you know, with some permission from the selectmen. I feel very strongly that he should do what, you know, do within what he wants to do. I thought the 2 weeks was not the right amount of time to advertise. Number one, I was a proponent to advertise. I wasn't for, because it quiets down everything. It quiets down people, and I felt 30 days was probably the right amount. But back to my point is, if you have somebody that you like and you're in private business and he's doing the job, and you can move him from within up, I understand that. But I still think you should go out and see what's out there.
So if, assuming the town meeting votes in favor of the changes to the Town Manager Act, Mike has indicated that his contract runs through the end of this year, and he's indicated he may or may not be interested. You would, sounds like, very much support his continuing on after the end of this year?
Well, my opinion, if I'm reelected and it passed, the right thing to do is to go out for
do
a
a
town
search.
manager. That's correct. Have Michael included.
Okay.
Of course, it may say it's an unfair advantage. Yes, it's an unfair advantage, but at least it gives you the opportunity. What's out there?
All right. Should he be an automatic finalist given what he's done?
Necessarily.
Not necessarily.
No.
Would you set up a search committee independent
just
of
like
the
we
board?
did before. That's
Okay.
right. It's the only way to do it. I mean, that's the way it's, in theory, non-political.
All right. So not just appoint him without you feel the search is important.
I think he's done an excellent job. He's put the time in, and people can say maybe they put the time because he's inexperienced. No, because the town manager's job, and I don't know how much you've been involved, but it's so complex. It is just so complex. It's just one person can't do it, and that's why you work 60, 70 hours if he's doing the job, and if you're making the changes, and you're negotiating contracts. That's why it's so important to break the town government, and not government, the operations of the town into sections, where you have directors of each section, and then they report to the town manager. Now you cut the workload down. Now he's able to concentrate on things that are very important to us, is the unfunded pension liabilities, health insurance with our town. Those are the big numbers. Those are, and I heard, I mean, I looked at two of the other interviews before I came. Those numbers are staggering. Now, granted, the state has the problem, the federal government. I just came from California. They're going bust over these numbers.
Right.
Over these numbers, they're going bust. And the thing is, you keep hearing actuarial numbers, which I read this article. Now, we all know that we figure 7.5%, 8% return on your money. It isn't happening. And that's what they're using. I'm wondering if our actual, whatever that word is.
Actuarial?
Actuarial number is the $36 million, maybe $40 million, because the number may not be correct in the investment part of it, meaning it could be increasing at 3% or 4%. So and then the unfunded pension. And go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say, I mean, so you're a businessman and you're an engineer, okay? So you own your own business, you do very well. Mark and I think everybody knows when you get on the board, sometimes you get onto the board and it seems like you think you know how it's going to be and you think you know how you're going to solve the problems that other people didn't, and then you get on there and you get an education. So it sounds to me, is that the path that you've come? Because that's one part of the question, but the second is then, if there's been that you've bought that good sense and things are running well, why then aren't people seeing it? Do you feel like you've lost touch with people who might still be mounting an effort to say, no, we don't want it that way, and they're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater? What do you think?
Well, that's the main reason I'm running. I'm hoping that I'd be reelected so I can continue. I'm only running for 3 more years. I'm not interested in any more time.
Self-imposed term limit.
It's my self-imposed, but the 3 years all I was going to run. But because of the situation we're in, I feel it's important to have somebody there that can contribute. At least that's all I try to do. I try to contribute.
But Lee, the last few years have been among the most decisive, divisive that I can remember, having been here, forever. And you've been on the Board of Selectmen, just one selectman and so forth. Do you take any responsibility for that, or what have you done to try to change that?
Very difficult. When you make changes, everybody hears the same thing. It's 50% are for them, 50% are against them. My point, when I want to vote for a change or do something, I'm doing it for the future. Many people can't see. This is what's always bothered me. You go to a town meeting, they can't see. I always claim that we start off with 1, and I'm at 10, and people are at 2. And that's what the problem is. In other words, I look at something and say, hey, if we do this, in the future it's going to be here. The other person sitting next to me will say, I start off here and it's only going to be here. And this is the divisiveness. This is where they say it's no good, it's not going to work.
There is a significant amount of the town, I think, that feels that you, the Board of Selectmen, certain other town hall insiders are up in an ivory tower and are not listening to the people, and you're just kind of doing your own thing without giving people an opportunity to be heard. How do you respond to that kind of criticism?
All I can say is Paul has been chairman for 1 year, and we have public discourse. In the beginning 5 minutes, nobody speaks. And then at the end and in the middle, anybody that comes can speak really out of turn. I mean, which is unusual for a selectman, not so much in Cohasset, but other towns. And we give everybody the opportunity. My telephone number, nobody calls. A few people call me and I answer and I try to solve their problems, but so few. I mean, I urge people to call me. If they have a problem, call me. But I mean, I try to, it's open to anybody, and I'm willing to listen to anybody's arguments or debate. I sit there night after night listening to a debate. I mean, that's what it is. And I enjoy, I mean, you've heard the rancorous problems with the last town meeting. I know it got sometimes out of control, but I enjoy the debate. I'm sorry, that's the way I am.
So do you think that it's kind of like there's people that get involved, do the work, concerned about the town, trying to focus on the issues, and then others who just like to throw bombs from afar to cause damage, or what? What?
It's hard to say. You wonder. I have a friend that's 95 years old. She's been in town, I don't know, 50 or 60 years, 70 years. And she watched every single town meeting. Selectmen's meeting. And she knows exactly what's going on. Exactly. And then you see people that I guess don't watch it or read different, I don't read the blogs, but the blogs are and you get a different outlook, different viewpoint. And if it doesn't go their way, but they don't come, once in a while they come, a few of them have come to town meetings, selectmen's meetings, and they've had every opportunity to speak, and sometimes they've convinced us.
So what do you think then their motivation would be?
What's that?
What do you think their motivation would be then?
I don't really know. I mean, I try to stay out of the real politics of everything. I'm no insider. The only reason I'm an insider is I go to every selectmen's meeting. That's the only thing that makes me an insider. I'm no different than any other taxpayer in town. That's where I felt when I was in the advisory board. And as I said before, the advisory board was more difficult because we had 2 different changes in the advisory board. One, everything came to us, and then they went and everything came to the selectmen before. And now it's back to the advisory board again, which I think is the right place for all the financials to come before them, before they come to the selectmen to look at the budgets and so on and so forth.
But you're really not like anyone else at this point. You're a member of the Board of Selectmen, the highest office, elected office we have in town. You create the policy, you set the tone for the
That's
town.
True.
And I'm looking back over your 3 years. Are there any mistakes? You mentioned the Coughlin situation. You indicated you didn't want to talk about because of litigation. I'll respect that and not ask you about that.
Yeah, we corrected the mistake. That's all I said.
Right, and that's fine. But putting that aside, anything else that you wish you could have done differently to help with this discord, which is there? I think clearly it's there.
Well, it's very difficult. My brain doesn't think that way. Any problems we've had, I thought we have corrected them. But as I say, I guess the biggest issue has been the hiring of the acting town manager, which I think has been a blessing for the town, even though it's been a tremendous, and I think that's part of most of the discourse has been because of the.
Okay, it clearly is
and
part of it.
At one point, and there's a point, good point, now you make my brain to work. The 3 people on conservation, which you didn't bring up yet.
I was just about to say that. You're a mind reader too.
And I'd like to mention that it had nothing to do, for my vote, it had nothing to do with the 3 people that came before. They all had 6 years, minimum 6 years on the conservation. But I had gone to, I don't know, 4 or 5 conservation meetings in a row, and I know the selectmen appoint the ComCom committee. And I guess there's 3 at a time. But I just saw something was wrong. And my own philosophy is the selectmen shouldn't be down there telling them what to do. We can certainly change the board as they come before us. But if you've been there, it just wasn't right what they were doing. There's just private citizens reviewing plans on somebody's projects or a problem with whatever, CAD dam if you want to say. And then they start, and then, how should I say it? It was just rancor. I mean, it wasn't right. And I can't tell you exactly what it was, but it was enough to disturb me.
But that's fine. But the way the applications came in, for the new people,
the appearance,
all together, right. It felt like it was a done deal. It was very well orchestrated by a group of insiders.
But it wasn't for me. It was strictly. I just wanted a change in ComCom. That's all I wanted, and it worked. The 3 people, whoever put the 3 people on. It worked. It changed the permitting fees. They dropped the permitting fee. They did a lot of management of the ComCom, and they brought it, at least the last time, well, except for the problems that we're having now with ComCom, it's been much more professionally run and respectful. And that's what.
But how did the new people all of a sudden? I mean, normally, right or wrong, people are reappointed. That's right. Just the way the town has always worked. Right. So how did these other people all of a sudden know that there was going to be a sea change, and they get their applications and they're delivered in a bundle? It felt like someone had talked to them and recruited them and got them ready. Okay. Is that true or not?
I don't know that, but I know that it came up before. If I remember properly, we put it off. The 3 came up and we put it off for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. That may have triggered some of the, and just to be honest here, Fred Coad, myself, and Paul Carlson, all 3 went to these meetings. And you have to take my word for it. I didn't talk to any of them. And we all came to the same conclusion that something was wrong with the board.
And you didn't talk to any of the people who applied?
No.
You were surprised to see those applications?
I don't know if I was surprised. I could see things working. I heard that somebody had come down with this and so on and so forth. I heard through the grapevine that things were being done. But I just felt that, it was nothing to do with CAD dam.
Wasn't that the beginning of the kind of our descent into?
It could be. That's right. The environmental
discord that we have.
That's right. That could be the beginning. Absolutely. And that could be working against myself. But I mean, I'm telling everybody that how I envisioned, how I saw it, and I just thought it was corrected. And the board is somewhat functional now. And what should I say? More leaning towards the public. The neighbors. They're neighbors. That's what they are.
Right. But some of your Board of Selectmen's meetings over the last 3 years could very well be described the way you described the previous ConCom.
That's true.
There's some pretty ugly scenes there.
That's true. Especially with the other groups that come in. That's right. Not so much the board itself. You're talking about,
the relations with the board and other boards and some private citizens. What can you do to change that, Lee? I mean, or is that just the way it is?
I don't know. I mean, I like good discussion as long as it stays within certain bounds. Did they get out of bounds? I don't know. I mean, I just like it because it shows the feeling. I like people that show the feeling. It's the hem-hawing of most meetings. You say, but you, people that have the real feelings is what.
But there's been a lack of respect. It's some of it. It's not all the time, and not so much lately. But there's been just lack of respect. You don't support that.
No, I do not. Yeah.
Good discussion back and forth, but
that's right. But it's good, discussion.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, another issue that seems to have people confused or into two different camps, because we've had is the police department. We've had candidates from the past that have gone from the inside to become chief. Some have opinions on that. We've had now a candidate come from the outside to come in to be chief. He obviously didn't work out. That's, I don't know how much you could talk about that. What's your thought on what's the best plan for the police department? I mean, if there's two different sides going on down there, how do we know what's the best plan?
I think you can include that with the fire and the police. In small towns, yes, it's good to hire from within. It's also good every once in a while to bring somebody from the outside. And I'll just tell you from what I remember, and a fellow took over from the fire department who was, I believe, from New Hampshire. He took over as chief. And he lasted, I think, 2 years. But he made major changes that benefited the next chief, and I think that was Bob Sylvia that came in. And the stuff that people get away with, I mean, one year after another, they do certain things. Now, the police station's the same thing. It's nice to bring in somebody from the outside with new ideas. Yes, you have a resistance. You're dealing with, we're dealing with men in a military operation. That's what they are. They're paramilitary, if you want to say that. The police and the fire. It's a military operation, and you have to get control of them, and it's tough. It's tough.
Is there a lack of control now, or are you not happy with the way
I'll be
they're
honest
being
with
operated?
you. I have no. I'm happy. I'm very happy the way it is. It's I mean, the contracts were signed, both the fire and the police. And they seem to be running fine. It's very difficult, as you know, even we're outsiders too, to really know. You speak to certain other police officers retired, and you get one story from one person. Very difficult to know what's going on.
But if you have a sense, at least, that things are going well, you seem to be advocating we should bring somebody in from the outside.
Not necessarily.
Things are going well. Why not promote from inside?
That's what the argument is. You asked me about the advertising, the RFP. That's exactly what the problem is. What do you do?
So you're saying there's benefits on each side. Each could bring something to the table, make improvements. But if that's true, then how do you answer the question when people say, "Well, what the heck happened? Now we've got chief of police, with maybe a lawsuit coming, and however he contributed, why did that end so badly?"
I'll make sure it's clear to everybody. There's no lawsuit coming. He signed off. Now, yes, he can sue anybody. Can sue anybody today, but no, it's done. That whole thing is done. He's been paid off. He's got his salary and he's got his vacation time, and he's moved on, and that's fine. I lost your question.
Well, I'm just thinking. I mean, it still seemed like it ended up poorly in the sense that I don't know. Did he want to go? Did he not want to go? And then you still had to be resources of the town still had to be directed towards that issue. So along those lines, was it as good as it could have been, or what do people say? Why did it have to end that way? Costly and.
Well, it didn't. It cost us money, of course, but it was only a salary for the rest of the year, and then we took the deputy chief and made him deputy chief or acting chief, what do you want to say? And so the real wasn't a cash loss, but time. There's no question that the amount of time. This goes back to the town manager again. The amount of time one has to spend on that thing, and as I say, you're dealing with paramilitary people, and I was in the Army, and we're a little different, but the Air Force and the Navy are completely a different operation completely. They're more professional, it's not the same thing, and they're spoiled. Especially the Navy. No, the Navy, I'm just saying.
Sure. Well, one recent incident having to do with the Red Line Inn being shut down, I think a lot of people look at that and say that we're a small town. I guess people understand that maybe letters where there was some misunderstanding down there and so forth. Shouldn't we have gone down? I mean, it's a couple hundred yards from town hall, and had a little more conversation before taking such drastic action that ended up, in the press and so forth.
It's called youth. We have a very good young health officer. And I'm sure it was discussed with Michael, acting town manager. But I feel that it's youth, meaning that's not the way I would have handled it. Maybe I would have if I was, I don't know how old he is, we'll say 34 years old. But I know they sent the proper paperwork. I know they received it. But the right way, and I think we've corrected it, and it's too bad it had to happen, is that a registered letter solves most of the problems. You're in the business. A registered letter in most cases stops the baloney. You know, if you're not, and don't give them 1 day. You give them 10 days or 15 days to reply, and then we're going to shut you down. Mm-hmm. And I guarantee it would have been answered. But those things with youth, that's what happens. He had to jump. And I think he's better now. I think he understands it. And it's the same thing with I'll go back to the treasurer collector. Same thing. She doesn't. Her problem is she's so loaded with work, she can't do the fine part. And the fine part is if you forget to pay your taxes, and if it's in one of those, what do you call it, the two-quarter payments, mm-hmm. they may not know it. See, in my opinion, if you didn't pay your taxes, you should have a letter in 30 days saying you must have forgotten your taxes. And then maybe even to the point where 60 days and you still haven't paid it, or the next payment schedule, they see you've missed it. And it can happen. It can happen. Get a registered letter and solve it. But you can't let it keep going. But I do understand both parties and the fact that the treasurer's office is not really finite, and that's why one reason I voted for the assistant treasurer. Mm-hmm. Hopefully we'll get somebody in there that can do the job and assist her. And of course, if she's on vacation, we'll have somebody to take over. We have no one there now that can take over for the treasurer.
So do you support the new proposed changes inside Town Hall of the regroupings of the departments and the recertifications of titles? And
I think change, and I know you've heard this before, change, everybody gets nervous with change. Even we all get nervous with change. I get nervous coming here.
We're nervous people.
I say the wrong thing. But the change, as far as I can see, job description is not changing. It's just location in some cases to make it more user-friendly, which the taxpayer would be, and more efficient for the town to operate. And that's all this is. And as they say, change is very difficult. And you take somebody from one office and move them to another, that's a little scary for them. But I don't see any reason the town manager can't try these and see if they work. That's what management does all the time, every place you go. You move people around and boom, boom. But it's scary. I understand. Nobody's losing their job. Anybody's asking them to do extra work. Or excuse me, maybe if one person was sick and didn't show up, they could take the form off the desk and say, you have to fill this form out for, we'll say, conservation or planning board, or even Board of Health. And I think it's a good idea for a start. Is it going to work? I don't know. We can try it. It's no big cost to the town. It just makes the town hall more efficient. You don't have to walk upstairs. You have to go all over the place. One place for permitting. And I think that's very important. And
what's the morale down there? We hear stories that it's not great.
I walk through. I see. You don't know. Even before I was a selectman, the people I talk to, they're very happy. I mean, I don't know. And everybody has their own cubicle. I don't see where the problem is, other than they could be nervous about losing their job. But I can assure everybody, nobody's losing their job.
But isn't there a way to know? I mean, they are stockholders in the process. I mean, things can change. People don't buy in. There's all different levels. But I mean, isn't there a way to find out how they feel as stockholders in it, like anonymously, or just to get a grip of whether the folks feel down there unhappy or they don't, or it's being perpetuated that way for some other motivation? I don't know. Isn't there a way to get to the bottom of it, maybe?
I don't know. I mean, the town manager has the authority to do it. And as long as the person doesn't lose any pay, time, or grade classification or anything else, and the job doesn't change, I can't see how moving one person to another desk or another area in the town hall, happy or unhappy, I'm sorry, we're trying to manage the town for the people. I mean, also your employees are important. I'm not going to say they're not. Mm-hmm. But they have to, I guess maybe they should be assured they're not losing their job. As I said before, when I first came on, I heard rumors that Jenkins is going to, we're going to cut, because I keep talking about efficiency. Well, why would, efficiency has nothing to do with cutting your labor force. It's making making their lives easier, to get the work done easier, to get the systems, to get software, to get things that make the difference to them. A better desk, a better computer screen.
Well, they're also talking about using that model to make a better town hall. I've been serving on the town hall renovation, and I know that plan is trying to be perpetuated into the space development too. So there is a 1-2 step maybe if we can get people to support the idea of money needing to go into renovations there.
I don't know if you've heard this. They came to CPC for $400,000 for the plans, and of course, a few people were there and they questioned why. I mean, what are we gaining? We gain additional space, and we're not going to gain any additional space. Now, am I pro or con? I don't know what I am. I haven't had a chance to make up my mind what I'm for. But I know for probably, I think it's a $4 million project, so it was probably 10% to do the plans. I'm guessing somewhere in that range. I said, well, what would it cost to build so many square foot of property, maybe, because I'm just throwing this up, at the end of the parking lot, in that hill over there. Put a small building in, all modern, the whole thing, to make that the office building. Mm-hmm. And then we get an additional square footage, because you have to gain something. If you're going to pull that money out, you got to gain something. But I do completely agree, if anybody walks into the town hall, and it's not for us, because I think it doesn't bother me to walk down crickley old, 100-year-old walkways and offices, but it's not for our employees now, it's for the future of the town. Now, granted, things will change with computers, but for the future of the town, you have to have facilities. You know it. I mean, it's crazy. You have to have the right chairs, you have the right desk. I mean, you have to keep up, or you're not going to be able to get people to work for you. And that's what the whole key is.
On the upcoming town meeting, I think for the third time, a vote will be held on an article having to do with a hotel and a meals tax. Where do you stand on that?
I voted no on both. Let me tell you why. If now you're going to ask me what I squeezed out, but if we were running the town, if we squeezed out all the fat, okay, and it's not very much fat, but if we did all that, and then you need additional funding, I'd maybe for that. But to come in and ask, because the selectmen voted against the hotel room tax.
But in favor of the meals.
They meals tax. And now, just so you'll know, I read tonight in the Ledger that Situate just approved the meals tax, I believe. But I just don't see additional taxes until I feel comfortable that we've squeezed out and made the most efficient operation of the town.
Well, you've been in there 3 years. Why haven't you squeezed out all of it?
Very hard.
Have you squeezed out any, Dale?
I've been trying to be honest with you. I don't know if you go to what's the recycling center?
Oh, yes.
Okay. For 4 years now, I've been asking, because cash management is, you don't want to get involved in cash. I mean, no matter what anybody says, the law says you have to take it supposedly, but I feel a credit card should be used down there. And it's much easier. You don't have to write a check. You can go down there and swipe a card. I think it's coming, but that's 4 years. Now, I can go and set it up in one day, but I don't think that's my role. You have to get, even with my own business, you have to get people to buy in. I mean, you have your own business, even though it's a gas station, and you have, what should I say, the workers that run with a service station and car wash. You have to get people to buy in, or it won't work.
But how is that fat, though?
Meaning, these are some of the savings. I mean, it's cash management savings there. There's a whole bunch of savings. I'm not afraid to say it at the reclaim center. I don't believe they should be, and I'll be honest, there shouldn't be one person putting the plastics in and one person putting the cardboard in and one person grinding glass. I think that's, I'd rather have those guys there doing other things. This should be somewhat automated. Now, if it costs us $100,000, that would be cheap, the amount of labor that we're putting into it. I don't think you've recognized it, but I have. It drives me nuts when I see them, one guy putting the, come on.
Well, the meals tax is a very small increase. And as you say, now with Situate voting in favor, everybody around us is voting in favor. Are we really concerned that people are going to drive to Abington or something to save a few dollars, maybe a couple dollars?
I just remembered.
I mean, why not get the extra cash?
I was for it.
Before you were against it.
That's right. Okay. I was for it, so long as the money was going to be paid to our unfunded pension liabilities and unfunded retirement money, a pension, I'm sure, and health care. Of course, you can't do that. But I'd be all for it if that could be put away.
Because otherwise you're afraid the money will just get frittered away if it just comes in the general operating?
That's right.
And what did the other people feel about having that segregated like that?
They said, yeah, they do it too, but the trouble is you only can do it for 1 year. You can't, it has to be
reauthorize it every year?
Yeah, town meeting would have to vote it again. But that made sense, because it's so scary, that amount of money. And if you did the math for 20 years, it'd increase our budget $2.5 million. And we never catch up, of course, because it continues to build as we pay it off. But $2.5 million in our budget would be earth-shattering.
Mm-hmm. So just one last question. So what would your thoughts be on how we would handle the whole situation of the retirement benefits and that ballooning responsibility for the town?
Before I came, I watched Michael's interview.
So you know the answers.
No, but I mean, he's putting some money into stabilization, but you can't, I don't know what the answer is. You see what happened, is it Stockton, where was it, Stockton, California, wherever it is. I was just reading the paper out there, as I said before, and it really is, I hate to say it, Chapter 9. I mean, it's terrible. The employees, if they don't realize that, they have to understand that they have to be somewhat helpful in trying to replenish the funds to do it. I think we're in the Norfolk County pension program. I have never investigated. I'd like to have somebody investigate the fact that what number are they using for the investments? Because we owe $10 million, and every year, it'll be an increase. Because if we haven't funded it under stabilization, they'll be coming for cash every single year to pay whatever the new retirements. And as people retire, I've heard, I'm not going to say where, but I've heard a couple employees, it's not worth making them retire because it's cheaper to keep them going than to go in the pension system. Because then we pay double.
So Mike's view is start putting some of the money away. He's putting a small amount this year, but just do the best we can.
I think the bonding companies like it too, because I guess this is going to be the first year it has to be included in one of our statements. It has to show the unfunded pension and health care.
Right.
So that'll be a big difference for the bonding companies who'll be looking at that.
Lee, thanks so much for coming on the show. Appreciate you doing it, and we'll hope to see you at the debate.
I will.
As soon as I let you know the date.
As soon as we figure out the date, we're going to let you know.
We didn't get back to you. That's the goal.
I'm going to talk to you after this show.
And thank you for all your years of service and your willingness to continue to serve the town of Cohasset.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Well, that is it with our interview with Lee Jenkins. I hope you found it informative. But for now, my name's Mark DeGiacomo, and for Pat Martin and our entire crew here, good night.